Hi, welcome to LatinoGraduate.net. I'm Aaron Sanchez, and we have a very special guest with us today, Patrick Kilpatrick. You've seen him on many different movies. You've seen him on film, TV. Patrick, thank you so very much for coming to our show.
Aaron.
Patrick, you're an actor, you're a screenwriter, you're now doing some producing, directing. Tell us about where you're at right now in life.
Well, I'm in a whirlwind of fruition of things that have been going on for probably close to 40 years. I mean, I've always been either writing, acting, raising money, athleticism.
Speaking of athleticism, I mean, you're in a movie right now where you have to get into shape, or you're in shape, but you have to fight, right? Tell us about that. What's that involved?
Well, the movie is very simply called Sex, Blood, and Fights.
Okay.
It's about the ultimate
title.
fighting word. Well, it's a working title.
Okay.
I don't know, but I think they'll probably go with it. You know, and it's kind of it's a really good representation of the kind of model that goes for a lot of films. It's a very simple concept. It's about a Russian crime boss who organizes. He brings together the concepts of prostitution and ultimate illegal fighting, and puts them together. And I play the Russian crime boss.
Wow.
And the actual, we have several real ultimate fighting champions who were in the movie, and the young guys, I get to beat them up. And,
you get to have some fun with that, huh?
Eat the scenery with the Russian dialect.
Which is a completely different, because you were in Minority Report, and in that one you had Tom Cruise with you. And
right.
Tell us about
a greater acting challenge to pretend that Tom is actually beating me up than these guys. But yeah, the Minority Report thing, I call it the good guy jerk part, because you're a good guy chasing Tom, who you think is a murderer, but I serve the purpose of being the foil. You know, you're getting beat up at every juncture and eluded and all that. Although on that film we did shoot scenes where I actually saved Tom. I was hoping they would come out in the...
oh, and it didn't come out in the end?
No, they ended up truncating the end, and which is fine.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
But so people know you mainly as an actor, but you're not just that. Tell us about the screenwriting. I mean, you got into that. How did you come into that?
Well, I've always been a writer from a very early age. Coming up with vocabulary and writing was an early way to get praise from my parents, and for some reason my mind always began to operate from metaphors and similes and connecting things up. So when I was at university, I was doing athletics a lot, but I had a very bad car accident, and I couldn't play sports for a couple of years.
Oh no! When did that happen?
This was when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
And I'd always read voraciously. I think reading is really vital. I read a book a day for years.
A book a day?
Yeah, my parents really wouldn't let me watch television. I snuck it, but they wouldn't let me watch television. I would turn my TV on with no volume and listen to the same channel that they were listening to with the picture. But
smart. But you would still read, so they were...
I read a book a day, and so my earliest heroes were literary people.
Like who?
Well, stuff in Jack Kerouac, Neil Cassidy character, Ken Kesey, all the way going back to Louis XIV people, Rimbaud and Verlaine.
So you exposed yourself to that very early on. But it goes back to you got in a car accident. Did that change things for you, or? It was
really a pivotal, I call it a pivotal blessing event, because up until that time, even though I read a lot, I'd really just been an athlete. A typical American football, basketball, baseball. After that, since I couldn't play sports for a couple of years, I started writing more, and I began to get things published when I was in college. And vocabulary was always a way to dispel notions that people had that you were just kind of a football player guy.
Right. Or you had more. You broke that stereotype of people.
Right.
Here's the jock, but this is the one with brains and something to say.
Well, we like to keep that delusion going on. In any case, so my aspirations became to become a writer. So after college, I went to New York and I became a writer. I worked for every magazine in New York and most of the ad agencies, and basically carved out a pretty high-level journalism, advertising, on-camera journalism career. And then I took a break to write a novel, because in my mind, real writers didn't just do advertising and journalism, they did novels.
Right.
And I started to save money sharing a house with a brilliant actor becoming a director named John Tillinger. And my first entertainment job was babysitting his kids for $200 a month in room and board.
And that maintained you.
Well, that maintained me in Roxbury, Connecticut. And then he was directing a play at the Williamstown Theater Festival. And so I kind of took his kids up there to visit him. And I found myself in this world of high-powered Eastern actors. You know, Richard Dreyfuss, Blythe Danner, Frank Langella, Christopher Reeves. Williamstown Theater Festival was kind of summer camp for big-time actors.
So you were in the mix with them at that time?
Yeah, so I wrote a play instead of a novel,
and
the play got produced. I became John Tillinger's assistant, directed on Broadway, off-Broadway, the West End of London.
Right.
And then because of the play background and the writing background, I was asked to join theater companies or to found theater companies as the play guy. And then because they needed somebody who was the rich guy who played tennis, or in those days I didn't play villains, I played the rich guy who played tennis or something.
Right.
I'd get on the stage, and then pretty soon, and I was studying acting all around. I really got fascinated by it. And, I was lucky because I didn't have to wait on tables so much or do catering so much, because I could freelance write. I continued to freelance for Rolling Stone and interview in the New York Times.
Wow. So I mean, okay, so as a writer, I mean, you definitely had that. So when did acting come into?
Well, I started doing these plays, you know, and the great thing about doing plays, and which I really urge most actors to do, is because once you assemble the lines and the concept of a play, the demands of theater and television, although they can be really formidable, they're not so formidable, because you have less lines. You have
so something to get into to tackle what you're wanting.
Yeah, and also when you're in a theater company, you've always got something that agents and casting people can come down and watch you. So pretty soon I was I did a play at a very prestigious theater in New York called The Second Stage, which everyone in the entertainment business in New York goes to. All the casting people, all the agents, all the managers, and boom, I got agents and managers, and it was just off. And then 25 years later, I've done 100 films and television shows, and it continues.